Live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, it's the St. Louis Realtor Podcast with your host, Adam Kruse.
Welcome everybody to the Hermann London Real Estate Group St. Louis Realtor Podcast, live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group right here in beautiful downtown Maplewood, Missouri. Today is a very special day for several reasons. Number one, this is podcast 25, which I think is a big milestone for us. Joey and I, we've been on this journey for 25 podcasts now. And, and additionally, really, it's kind of special to me because of our guest. And our guest is somebody that's kind of gone a full circle here from being a listener of the podcast to someone who then was a client of the Hermann London Real Estate Group and recently bought a home, and now is a guest on the show. But before we jump into that, I do have I have my couple announcements. First of all, today's topic is all about the first-time home buyer process. We're going to have to talk fast because I've got a lot of questions. Just for the market, I want to make a sort of a note. At this time in history, today's April 12th, 2016, and these coming soon listings are really big. We're working with a lot of buyers, and they are having, we write contracts, multiple offers. I just got off the phone with somebody who said they accepted an offer above asking, all cash, prior to the people even seeing the home. Listings that come on the market are selling really fast, so coming soons are a big deal. I've got 2 properties under contract right now that I help the buyers find before they were listed. And I guess that's one of the values of using a realtor, because a lot of us talk to each other, and we have little communities where we talk about the listings that are coming up. If you have a realtor who's in tap to that or in tune to that, we can find you a house, and maybe you don't have to compete as much. I also wanted to mention haveasover.com. For any of you who are listening to the radio currently, we've been doing a lot of radio ads and talking to home sellers and saying, hey, if you're thinking about selling your home, have us over so we can help you make smart decisions about what you do to prepare your home to get the most dollar out of it when it is time to sell. So go to haveasover.com or just give us a call directly, 314-802-0797 here at Hermann London Realtors. Actually, we've had a few great new agents joining our Hermann London team. I think we've had about 5 people join the team in the last month, and I'm excited about it because they've got some deals working. Our company is going to go to the Ronald McDonald House and cook food. We do that every year. Once a year, we go and make dinner for everybody, and it's kind of a nice team building thing, and it's nice to help out the families who are really in pretty much the worst situation you could imagine. And last update is just we've been working on a lot of training. So we've been doing training for our agents and making sure they're kind of in tune to all the new hot things going on in the market. Now we're going to jump in to what everyone's tuned in for, the podcast about first-time homebuyer process. And I already introduced Erica, but Erica, just kind of introduce yourself and say a little something if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Erica, and I'm a first-time home buyer.
You are?
Yeah.
You were a first-time home buyer.
I just closed on Friday.
You did?
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions for you. Please feel free to jump in at any time and say anything you want. Do you have any questions for me to get started?
No. I know everything, so
okay. So what I did for this podcast, kind of the agenda I wanted to go through, is I broke the process of buying a home into a bunch of steps. And then I got some questions prepared for you about each step, if that's okay. The goal here would be that anyone who's listening that hasn't bought a home hopefully can listen and learn from you and be like, oh, well, Erica did it. She made it sound easy, or she told me these things to consider or whatever, and that can help them get the confidence to buy a home, know what questions they should ask, know what to look out for, that type of thing. Okay, does that make sense?
I think it's great because I felt so dumb when I started this whole thing.
You did?
I didn't know anything, especially about mortgages. I know that you can drive around the neighborhood you like and find signs, and there are lots of them. I learned so much.
Good. One of the things we talk about with our company is our goal is to educate our clients, and at the end of the deal, we want to make sure our clients feel like real estate experts, and hopefully you feel kind of like you know a lot about real estate now, and we'll test it at the end because I prepared a little quiz for you. And
That's terrifying.
Well, it's not pass-fail. I guess it is, but, there's really no prize or anything. It's more, if you pass, then I'll feel like I've done a good job.
Okay.
So I broke it down into several steps. First, you contact your agent. Then you meet your agent. Then you get pre-approved. Then you look at houses. Then you make an offer. Then you get inspections. Then you negotiate the inspections. Then you close. Then you clean. Then you move in. And that's it. Okay, so we're going to get started with contact your agent. So first of all, and I already know the answer to this, but how did you find me?
Well, full disclosure, my boyfriend works for you. It's Joey right here.
Our producer,
hello,
our
Joey.
podcast producer. Did you get in advance? Did you get a copy of our buyer's guide
Yes.
before we ever met?
Yes.
And did you read it
emailed
ahead
to
of
me.
time?
I glanced at. I mean, I went through it.
That's what we would
I
call a
glanced.
slow no in the business.
No, I looked at every page. I maybe didn't I speed read.
Okay, because I'm hoping to get any sort of feedback from you that I can today, so I know how we can make the process better for the next people.
I will say I referenced that guide many times throughout the process.
You did? Okay,
yeah,
so
I
it
had
was
it saved
helpful.
on my desktop at work, and
Okay.
anytime I forgot something, I would just open it and.
Okay, good. What other sort of research did you do before you met with me or contacted me or whatever?
Well, I love the website Reddit, and there's a real estate subreddit that I just I got even more involved in it throughout the process. But before I even started, I was just reading a lot on there, just seeing, because there's tons of first-time home buyers on there asking questions. So when
Really?
you read the responses, and that subreddit is great because it's got so many experts. There's lenders and, appraisers and agents and a great group of regular people that respond. So
you're a
I like it.
Redditor, and you were able to ask questions on there, and people would answer. And obviously, sort of neutral third
I was
parties.
more of a lurker for a while until I actually got more into the process, and then I had a couple posts that I did.
Okay, cool. So then we met. How did that meeting go?
It was great. Yeah, you made me feel really comfortable.
What did we do? I didn't mean for this podcast, by the way, to kind of be an advertisement for me. I really wanted it to be
Are you sure?
informative, so yeah, I didn't. But I guess when I say how did that meeting go, what kind of stuff did we talk about?
We talked about just what I wanted to look for in a house, price range, and you got me set up on the MLS.
I guess we
so
asked you a
long
bunch
ago.
of questions
Yeah.
about what you want, and
It was just what I'm interested in.
I guess I'm kind of curious. Was that meeting overwhelming?
No.
Because sometimes we talk about a lot, and I wonder if people are I don't remember anything that you just explained to me.
Well, as a regular listener of the podcast,
It helped,
I felt like
okay.
I already knew you. So I was
know.
just hanging out with a friend, and
Yeah.
then let's talk about real estate a little bit. So,
Okay, good. I like that.
yeah.
Maybe once it all kind of came in context too, as we went through the thing. How did you decide what area that you wanted to live in and what kind of house you wanted? I mean, you already knew that when we met, basically, I think.
It was easy for me because we've lived in Dogtown for the last year and a half, and I love Dogtown. I love that area. I wanted to be as close to Forest Park as possible.
Okay.
So I knew that's where I wanted to be. Price range, I knew I wanted to hopefully pay less on my mortgage than I was paying in rent.
Beautiful.
So,
and did
kinda
you
like
know
where I got it.
already what type of house you wanted, or did you kind of figure that out as we went?
yeah, that we kind of figured out as we went because I like a wide variety of houses. There are many different styles that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And as we got farther along, it seemed like Joey really preferred houses with finished basements. So that's kind of where we ended up.
So you
But,
can have a podcast editing studio down there?
yeah, possibly, or an eBay office.
Okay.
That's what he's
okay.
calling
Well,
our one room.
That
we
seems
have.
like I need to get into that topic off the podcast, I guess. A little feedback here. Can you tell me what could we have done differently? Looking back on it, if you had to redo that meeting again, what would you have hoped would have been different about it, or what could we have done differently?
Not really anything.
It was fine.
Sorry.
The meeting
Yeah,
was
it was
fine.
great.
basically. Okay. Oh, it was great. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So then you got pre-approved. I don't know if you did that before we met or after we met, but
I think
At some point you knew you had to get pre-approved.
I had a phone conversation the day before we met up, I think.
okay.
Yeah.
So how many different lenders did you talk to?
I was a slacker and I only talked to one mortgage broker.
Okay.
And I know you're supposed to shop around, but I was lazy and I felt like I could trust the guy because he was recommended to me by you and by Joey. So
Okay. I'm sure we also recommended that you talk to multiple lenders, but
yeah. But
okay.
I don't know. I've heard a lot maybe you can get a lower rate, but sometimes it's better to have a lender that is going to be timely and
Yep.
reliable. So that was
Yeah.
important to me too.
There's kind of a seesaw of, do I want to have a really great buying experience, and or how does that match up with the long term of, okay, now that my buying experience is over and I have to pay my mortgage every month, right? So
Yes.
Was like pre-approval process kind of intrusive? Was it manageable? Did it make sense to you? I mean,
Well, the hard part for me was getting over my fear of talking on the phone because I hate talking on the phone.
oh really?
So this whole process has like made me a lot more phone friendly because
Okay.
I had so many long conversations with like between John and Shannon
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of like personal questions like
Right.
about finances, but I expected that going in. I didn't really have anything to be worried about, I guess. So
Okay.
it was not bad.
Okay.
You do have to be prepared for that. If you're the type of person that doesn't like to give out all that kind of information, you're going to have to get over it.
People are always like, why do I have to give you that? I don't want to give you that. I don't need to tell you that. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I don't need to give you $100,000 then. You know, I'm assuming that's how the
Yeah.
lender feels. I'm not a lender, obviously, but it's like, well, we are kind of going to give you a ton of money, so kind of might want to see your bank statement or something. Did you use any sort of like down payment assistance programs or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I ended up going with low down payment, only 3% on a conventional loan. So
okay. 3% on a conventional?
yeah.
How do you pull that off?
Yeah, it's if you have to have really good credit, I think.
Hey.
And it ended up that I had to take an online course.
Okay.
A home buyers course so that the lender would like approve my loan. They were
was
like, we have
something
this
through the
requirement.
lender?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
And it was actually a really good course. I would recommend it. It was $75, but my lender gave me back that amount in credit.
Your lender was John Charlton, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. That's the guy that we have
Yep.
on the show a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, through the pre-approval process, what would you do different? Are you saying you would have talked to a couple of different lenders, or would you have done anything different at all?
You know, everything went so smoothly, and I really enjoyed working with those people, so I probably would do it the same way again.
Okay.
And, like, I'm happy with my rate. Maybe I could have gotten, like, a little bit lower,
Percent or something.
especially if I went with, like, Quicken Loans or something like that. But I've heard terrible things
Yeah.
about those types of places. So.
Okay. I didn't know if you kind of like found something else out later in the process and you were
Well, it was more like the day before I closed. It's the lowest rate since like a year ago, and it's 3.6%. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm getting. That sucks. That I locked it in a slight bump, I guess, but it's okay.
but you couldn't have done anything about that anyway.
No,
even
'cause
if
it
you
was the
would have
day
talked to
before
50
closing.
lenders then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Then the looking at houses process started. You did some of that with me, and you did some of it with Shannon, and then ultimately finished with Shannon St. Pierre, right?
Shannon St. Pierre.
Shannon
yes.
St. Pierre. So tell me, how many houses did you look at kind of on average per meeting? Like if you guys would meet or we would meet or whoever on a Thursday and go look at some houses, how many did you generally look at?
Well, I think the first time we went out, there were like 7, and then after that, it was like 5 every time.
What would you think is a good amount before you didn't feel overwhelmed or you didn't forget about the houses or you just didn't like get tired?
I could have done more.
You could have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could probably do like 10.
So
in a
if
day.
if you had 10 you wanted
if
to
there
see,
were 10, yeah.
go out and look at 10. Don't wait.
Even like the bad ones are always fascinating, at least
Okay.
to me. Even the ones that I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to buy this place, but
Let's
it's
look at
still
it
like
anyway.
memorable.
Can you believe someone lives like this? That kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in total, before you bought a house, how many did you look at?
I would guess 17.
Was it like the first few that you went to, you were sort of figuring out what you wanted and what all this stuff is, and then
It was
eventually...
more like the first day, it was a lot of stuff that had been on the market for a while. 5 of them had been on the market for a while, and they looked interesting, and I wanted to see them. And then there were a couple that had just come on the market that just weren't quite right, didn't have finished basements or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of going out to houses. Well, yeah, this one's been out there, but maybe there's a good reason. And then it turned out, oh, well...
It sucks.
It's
That's
not
why
right.
no one's bought
Yeah.
it yet. So the first showing was important just to kind of like
Yeah.
help you figure out.
I
a
mean,
little bit
I'd
what you
never
like, I
done
guess.
that before. I'd never gone to an open house even. So
Okay.
I was, yeah, it was important, I think.
Who chose which houses you were going to go look at?
I chose them all.
You're the one who found them all, like
Yeah.
on
Well,
our website or something. or?
you got me set up on the MLS through your website,
Okay.
and I would get emails whenever a new one came out, and I could look at everything in my price range from before. So every time I get an email, it's like this exciting feeling, like maybe this is the one. And then you go on there. And then I would just like compile a list, send it to you or Shannon.
And say, I want to see these.
Be like, I want to see these this weekend. After we kind of like went through all the ones that had been out there for a while, it was more like one comes on the market. Let's go see this tomorrow.
Because you would see them selling fast?
Yeah, yeah. And you just don't want to miss out. And it does seem like since I started looking in January, like it's really heated up. At least,
it's hot.
Yeah, out there.
So yeah, like typically when we start working with a buyer, we do what we call like a date day. Like every Thursday is our date day. We go look at houses. But then if if some of them are selling too fast, then you're like, we must go right now. And that's what you ended up doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you would go look at houses, who drove? Did you drive? Did you ride with the agent, me or Shannon? Did you drive separate? Kind of how did that go?
The days that we went and saw a bunch, the agent drove me. I know you drove us around one of the days, and then Shannon picked us up. And then when we would just go see one, usually I would be coming straight from work, so I would just
meet there.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know, kind of for the listeners, I didn't know if they wondered like, how does this work? And I've had some buyers.
I honestly didn't know before.
You didn't know?
You were like, I'll pick you up.
I'll pick you up. You're like, is this enterprise?
It's probably easy also that we lived in the neighborhood that we were looking in. So, Shannon she commented, she picked us up. And then we drove like a block away and we parked and we went and saw a house.
Well, I've got Shannon working with some other buyers right now too, and she's driving like all over the place. The reason she couldn't be here today is because she's in Ellisville, which is at least a 45-minute drive from her house. So she probably was loving you guys.
Probably.
So you looked, and then how did you know when you found the one? Quote unquote the one.
So we found what we thought was the one.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Yeah,
let's get into
I guess we may as well.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. I found this beautiful house that was, a century old. I love old houses. Mm-hmm. And I really, really liked it. Shotgun house, 1.5 story, bedrooms upstairs with like A-frame ceilings and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was a really cool house. So we found it and we put in an offer and had it accepted. And I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but didn't end up working out after the inspections came back.
Because it was from that Tom Hanks movie, Money Pit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you kept looking, and then you really knew once you found the next one?
Well, it was just the nicest house we had seen since we'd looked. And we were like, this house is awesome. It just came on the market like the day before. We were the first ones to see it.
And you got it.
And we got it.
High five.
Yeah.
Once you saw the house, you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. Did you bring what I call a devil's advocate? Did you bring, your dad, your brother, your best friend, your uncle, your cousin?
No, none of them volunteered to do that.
Okay. So a lot of people bring what they call a devil's advocate, and they, like someone's dad or brother. Like every time I'm buying a house, usually my brother comes, and he shows up with his flashlight, and he's like, really going to look at all the details. So you didn't have somebody that did that for you?
No, we didn't.
I guess maybe Joey was your devil's advocate.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that.
And it's not necessarily a requirement, but because you got your inspections, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. You sent me an email earlier today, and you said that you would look each of the sellers up, and you would know if they had cats and what their financial situations were and what their favorite colors are and stuff. Tell me about that. What were you doing?
Social media makes it very easy. You see the person's name on the contract, and then you just look them up on Facebook.
So you looked these sellers up once you had a contract.
Yeah.
You didn't look up the sellers
I wasn't
for every
looking them
house
up
you went to.
for every house. No, that would be crazy.
Okay, so is it creepy for you to talk about like what were you able to find out about the sellers?
No, because I couldn't find out that much.
But you knew if they had cats and stuff, or what?
Well, we knew the first house. We knew they had cats because they left the cats there for inspections and showings and stuff.
When you're looking at houses, A, how could the process have been better, and B, did you have any surprises?
Process better. I'm going to come back to that one. Surprises. There was a specific house that was interesting because we showed up and it was an old lady and she was still there and she was oh, my realtor didn't call me. and tell me that you guys are coming. So she like showed us around.
Super awkward.
Super awkward. Plus, it was like the craziest house I've ever seen in my life.
She absolutely didn't help herself.
Shannon agreed. She was like, "This is the most interesting, like one of the most interesting houses I've ever seen."
Really?
Because it was like the one that we ended up going under contract on, the shotgun, but it hadn't been updated. Like it had been in her family for over 100 years.
Wow.
Like it was 120 years old or something like that.
Dang.
And you got into the attic through the bedroom closet. And they had like a bedroom up there.
What?
And yeah, there was a bedroom up there.
You had to go up there through the closet? I mean, that's usually where
it was like a super narrow little staircase up into the. And she said that there had been like 6 kids or 8 kids or something living there all at once. And then they had the basement, also a very tiny little staircase down. But they had like a kitchen down there and another bedroom. They had built on and moved the kitchen out there. It was just crazy.
Okay.
And probably no one will ever be able to live there after this.
So you were surprised by some of the houses you saw and the way
that
people
was really
live and stuff like
the
that?
big one.
Okay. Could the looking at houses process have been better? Would you have rather, I guess you said you could have looked at more all at once, right? But
there just weren't enough in my neighborhood at the time to
look at
like warrant looking at. I enjoyed the process the way that it was. I will say I don't like open houses as like someone who's seriously looking, because I know we went to a couple and it was just too many people. You were like trying to see, but you felt like you had to move on.
Right.
And then like
we went to that one together, and there's people were
Yeah, it was
not even
just
looking
so
at the house, kind
crowded
of, right?
and-
You're like, look at that weird guy's shoes or
yeah,
something. You know?
I didn't enjoy that.
Then you found the one, and the process of making an offer started. What gave you the comfortability to make an offer on this house and to sign all these papers and all this kind of stuff? I mean, what was sort of that process? And
Probably my naivety.
oh, okay.
I just like, okay, I want this one. Let's get it.
What do I do? Where do I sign?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
And it's like electronic documents that I was signing, so it doesn't feel real. You just get it sent to you, and you're.
I mean, did you
type in
feel
your
like you
name.
were kind of described what they said or anything like that? Or did you just like, hey, sign this?
Oh yeah, I mean I read everything that I signed. I
You
just
did?
blindly sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some buyers, they avoid ever taking the step of making an offer because they're afraid of what that means and what
I
is all
could
this
see
contract
that.
and all that kind of stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. I just think I was ready, and I was also under a little bit of a time crunch because our lease was ending soon. So I was like, I want to get in there as soon as possible.
Did you negotiate the price, or did you just offer full price, or what?
We negotiated. We offered $10K under what they were asking, but it had
High five.
just Shannon ran comps, and she
Uh-huh.
was like, well, with comps, this really makes more sense. But then it had just come on the market
Yeah.
like the day before. So they countered like $5K below their
What they're
asking,
asking.
and
Okay.
we accepted that.
So they came down.
Yeah.
That's how you decided. Your realtor ran comps, comparables in the neighborhood, and
And
made sure that you
honestly,
were
our
offering a decent price.
end price was the price I was originally going to offer. So that's why I was just like, that's the price. I
Okay.
accept that one.
Wait, what did you mean? I thought you were going to say that they came down at inspections. You're saying you
Oh,
were
no.
originally going to offer the price that you ended up getting it for, but your realtor suggested you go lower or something, or what do you mean?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
okay. It's hard to talk about it without numbers.
Sure.
I know we're trying to be.
Let's just for ease of conversation, let's say they were asking $100,000,
Okay. So
or let's say they were asking $1 million.
they were asking $1 million.
Uh-huh.
This is gonna sound ridiculous. I was gonna offer $995, and then
Let's go back to 100,000. This is
okay,
confusing
it's too
too.
confusing.
Okay.
100,000.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna offer 95K.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's a little below asking, but it's not crazy. And then Shannon ran comps, and she was like, oh, you know, with comps, I think you should offer 90,000.
Because she thought it was worth 90 or worth 95 or what?
She thought that it was a little overpriced.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. Let's offer 90. So that's what we did. And then they came back and said
95.
95. And I said, well, I was originally going to offer 95, and I think the house is worth that, so I'm going to accept that.
You know, your offer had a bunch of different contingencies. How did you get comfortable with these contingencies?
That buyer's guide you gave me, it's just
man,
so helpful.
look at this. You're an unpaid advocate, by the way.
Plus, like Reddit.
Okay.
But, reading, educating yourself, and then, like, the realtor, you guys explained it to me a little bit, too.
I can't wait for the quiz. Yeah. All right, so did you ask the sellers to pay any part of your closing costs?
We asked for $3,000 in closing costs, and they accepted that.
Okay, so your offer, they were at, we're using
Sorry,
fake numbers
I forgot
here.
about that part. Yep.
We're using fake numbers. They were asking 100.
Yeah.
We
offered $90,000 plus seller pays $3,000 in closing
So a
costs.
net of 87.
Yeah.
They came back to 95, still paying
with
your $3,000.
the closing costs. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you actually got them down 8,000.
Yeah.
We got an accepted offer. Woohoo! And now it's time to do inspections. So what inspections did you get?
I got the radon, which
Okay.
everyone knows is so important.
Uh-huh.
I got, just the regular home inspection,
The building
general
inspection?
inspection. Building inspection. I got the termites. Termite
Okay.
inspection.
Sewer lateral line.
Oh yeah, that one. Sewer. Thank you. It's been so long, I just forget.
So you got 4 inspections?
4 inspections.
Was it the same person who did all 4 inspections? Or
No,
did they hire a different person to do the
They
lateral line?
hired someone
probably?
for the sewer, yeah. But
Okay.
the same guy did the other 3. Yeah.
How much did all these inspections cost?
It was like $700.
Okay.
Yeah, $720, I think. And I paid that twice because I got the inspections on both houses.
That's right. But as you said in your thing you sent me earlier, you're glad you got that inspections on the first one because otherwise you'd be paying a million times more than that to fix it now. Okay, so once it was time for inspections, did you go to them?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Excellent.
Yep.
How long?
I wanted to have more time just to spend in the house in general anyway, because it's kind of crazy to just see a house for 20 minutes and then be
Buy
like,
it.
yep, I want to live here.
Okay. So you went to the inspections. How long did they take in general?
First one took a lot longer. It was 2.5 hours. And then
Okay.
the second one, I think, was under 2 hours.
Same inspector.
Same inspector both times.
So tell me about the inspections. Did you learn anything that you'd want to share, or what would you do differently?
I would be less lazy and actually walk around with him the entire time, I guess.
Okay.
Because I walked around with him a little bit, but then I was like, I'm just going to read the report later.
Okay, but you stayed.
But I stayed and, look around and see what kind of stuff is going to need to get done. And
If you were going to do it over, you would definitely go, though, and you were saying you'd even be more involved.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Although you feel a little bit like you're tagging along, I don't know, like a puppy dog following them around.
Like a little sister or something like that.
Yeah. And I have I'm a reader, so I have no problem reading a full inspection report.
So then you got the report back, the next day he sent it to you or something like that? Okay, and it came time to negotiate the inspections. Mm-hmm. Oh, baby. The second negotiation, open it back up. Was there a lot? What kind of stuff did you guys ask for?
It was a bunch of little stuff. So we just gave them a list of 10 things. Installing a carbon monoxide detector. Tightening, the toilet was loose or something. So tightening that. And what's it called with the sewer lateral where they clear it of roots and stuff. Mm-hmm. We asked them to do that. Just a bunch of little stuff. We gave them a list, and they agreed to do all of it.
So a lot different than the first house you put the offer on.
Yes.
These people had actually done a lot of maintenance and kept their house up.
They definitely maintained it.
Cool.
Really well.
Okay. So they gave you everything you asked for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was
That's
surprised. Great. No negotiation at all.
No
They're
negotiation.
just like, sure.
I mean, it's kind of like, what are they going to do? Right back and be like, oh, we're not going to give you the carbon monoxide detector for $20 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Is there anything you would have done differently for negotiating the inspection process? And by the way, I feel like we should zoop, 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 fast forward a year and then go back.
Yeah, that's probably true. Maybe
these windows didn't work. I didn't know the windows didn't work, something like that.
That's actually true. Well, one of them, you open it and then it just slides back down.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's not
He
the
didn't
greatest
find
window.
that.
No.
Did you look if it was on the report?
I don't think it was, but yeah, I might have to look again.
Okay. I guess on the back end, by the way, for the listeners, you were communicating with your lender and sending him everything and giving him all that kind of stuff. I'm not really going to ask much about that. You can say anything about it that you want, though, at this time, because that's kind of what started happening at that point, right? I mean, he's send me the report card from second grade. And you're like, I got all A's, I promise, right?
The weirdest thing was, I guess when I opened my checking account when I was 18, my mom was on it with me. She had her name on it. We never actually removed her from it. So I sent them my bank statements. Her name's still on it. I didn't even realize. I don't look at my paper bank statements ever.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we need a note from your mom that says it's okay to use these funds.
Like, Mom.
So I was like,
Okay.
easy enough. But yeah, that was probably the strangest thing.
So fast forward a little bit here, and it's time to go to closing. Did you know in advance how much money you were going to have to bring to closing?
No, not at all.
Really?
Well, I mean, I knew in general, but they did not tell me until the evening before closing
The
exact
penny.
amount that I needed. But
It's kind of weird, but that it was the norm. You know, things have changed a little bit with all the rules and stuff that just happened, but that was always the norm. And it's like, why can't you get this figured out ahead of time, guys?
it's
So
okay.
then-
It worked out.
But you had to go to the bank and get a cashier's check?
I did, yeah.
All right, why are you still looking at houses? I hear you're still looking at all the we're still sending you the emails and you're still looking at them?
I just like looking at houses. I like seeing what's out there. And I think eventually I'm going to rent out the house that I bought and get a new one.
Hey, I like that. All
In
right, I'll have
fact,
to have you back on the
I'm
show.
like really fascinated with not rehab exactly, but like buying a house that maybe is a little run down and like fixing it up, living in it for a while,
Okay.
and then maybe like moving on to the next. I just really like the idea of like saving a house. Like a sad house and fixing it up. I don't know.
Did you make your roommate sign a lease?
No.
Okay, well, maybe you don't need to.
I
Look
trust
at
him. He's not a money grubbing type person.
Well, there's pros and cons, right? Because you probably maybe have more control now if you don't make him sign a lease. Because if you want to kick him out, you can.
That's true.
Okay. I know that was an awkward question. I just threw that in there for fun of it. About closing specifically, any information you think other first-time homebuyers should know? Was it overwhelming? They came in with a stack of paperwork the size of...
How about it's not as bad as you think it's going to be?
Oh, really?
Yeah. At least that was my experience. It probably helped that I had really good people around me. Probably finding a great realtor and a great lender is important to like making the process go smoothly.
After the closing, you got the keys. Like the property funded, you got the keys, you went over there. But it was dirty, right?
Oh, it was so dirty.
It was really dirty?
It was really bad. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, Joey shrugged. I cleaned the entire kitchen. You know how bad the refrigerator was. That was probably our mistake. We were like, let's ask for appliances because we don't own any.
Uh-huh.
The refrigerator is like terrible. If I could do it over
It's dirty
again.
or it doesn't function?
It's dirty.
Okay.
Or it was. I cleaned it. It took forever.
Well, it's interesting. I love / hate talking about this because everyone's definition of dirty is different.
That's exactly what Shannon told us in our
Yeah.
final walkthrough because we were like, it's so dirty. Are they going to clean more before closing?
And you're like,
She's
if they're nice.
He's like, can we tell them to clean more? Shannon's like, well, people have different definitions of clean.
Well, because I've had that conversation with her. And,
Yeah.
you know, we've asked people before, have the home broom swept. And you get over there and you're like, they didn't do a very good job. It's like, well, what can we do? Or it's like, have the home professionally cleaned. And then they're like, my aunt's a professional cleaner and she cleaned. And you're like, no one's ever happy with how clean it is, basically.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say no one's ever happy, but sometimes the seller does an amazing job cleaning, but still the buyer comes in and cleans anyway. It's like, I want my bleach to go over your bleach. You know, I want my 409 to go over your 409 kind
That's
of thing.
true.
So-
That was actually our discussion because we were like, well, maybe we could just hire someone to clean. But then, I don't know, we didn't trust that
You'd
they
probably
would
still clean, right?
clean all the stuff that we wanted cleaned. So
Yeah, that's this whole, is it clean, is it not clean, is always a big debate. And how do we solve that problem? And we haven't come up with a solution for it yet. Maybe, you know, like how do you measure cleanliness? Maybe you'll come up with one and let me know. So then it came time to move in because you cleaned it before you moved in, I guess.
we haven't moved in yet.
You haven't moved in?
No.
Well, then I'll have to change the context of my questions.
Okay.
Are you going to hire movers?
We're gonna try. I think we're gonna try to do it without movers.
Like rent a U-Haul or
since
just
we're
like
so close, we're just gonna make as many trips as it takes.
in your cars?
My mom has a van, so we're gonna borrow it. Yeah.
Did you paint or anything before you moved in? Or before you're gonna move
Still
in?
painting. I painted one of the bedrooms over the weekend, and the other one I still have to paint. One of the bedrooms was painted for a 6-year-old girl, so
Okay.
needs to be painted over.
That
And
goes
I'm really
with Joey's
excited. I
taste.
just
That could
bought
be his
paint
eBay
today,
room.
so
Huh? Oh, you
I'm
did?
so excited to paint it.
Have your neighbors brought you pie?
No. Are they supposed to?
I don't know if they still. I've never had anyone do that.
I haven't met any neighbors yet. I think because I've only been. Well, I don't know. I must just be unapproachable. But
Whoa,
Joey,
you haven't technically moved in
Joey
yet. Give him a
has
chance.
met a bunch of the neighbors, and
that's because
they
you're
seem
inside
very
working
nice.
and he's outside hanging out. I guess you haven't done your change of address thing with the United States Postal Service
I did,
yet?
yeah.
Okay. Did they mail you something that had a 10% off coupon to Lowe's?
Yeah.
I would suggest to you that you do this, that you still use it at Lowe's, and also that you make a copy of it, and for the next time you need more stuff, you take it to Home Depot and go, will you honor this?
Oh
And they
my
will.
gosh.
Hey, you got to get, if you're going to
Scam
go to,
artist.
it's not, no, they will honor it. There's nothing scammy about
Okay.
it. If you're going to go to Lowe's and spend $500 on paint and whatever else, you might as well get $50 off.
I will
right?
recommend. I joined the Paint Perks Club
What's that?
for Sherwin-Williams, and I got 10% off of my can of paint today.
Scam artist.
It was great. Yeah,
No,
I was
just
excited.
kidding. Are you ready for your quiz?
I feel ready.
All right. So this is my 5 random questions that I came up with to find out if you're a real estate expert.
Only 5?
5. Well, then
If
we're
I
gonna,
miss 2, that means I fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
After this quiz, then we're going to do our standard 5 questions that we ask every guest.
Okay.
So quiz question number 1. What is radon?
Radon is a gas that comes from the earth, and it lives beneath your house, and it's odorless and tasteless, and it can give you cancer. Is that close enough?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
Number 2. What is an anti-tip device?
It goes on your stove, and it keeps it from crushing you to death. Is that a good enough answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. So if
that's literally all I know.
that's right. So if the stove
ask
like
for
door
that.
is open and you're a baby and you like stand on it and it makes it so the stove doesn't
I
fall over
honestly
and close
was
you in
almost like, do I even need to ask for this? But Shannon said that I should. So
What is a short sale?
a short sale is
In 1,000 words or less.
It's when someone owes more on their mortgage than they can sell it for. So I guess they have the
You're going
lender
right. This is
help
right.
them sell it. No, they sell it, and then the lender has to approve it, or the bank has to approve it, and then it can take a really long time. So it's weird that it's called a short sale.
They sell it for short of what they owe the
Short
bank.
of what they owe, yeah.
You were totally on the right
Okay,
track.
okay.
I'll give you that one. Ding,
Okay,
ding, ding.
cool.
Oh, okay. So what are the 5 main contingencies in an offer?
Okay. Inspection.
Yep.
Appraisal.
Yep.
Loan. Financing, I
Yep.
guess is what it's called. What are the other 2?
Are you ready to give up?
No.
Because, I mean, you're going to at least get 3 out of 5 on this one question.
Okay, I give up.
You're going to give up already?
You said I could.
Okay, so what else did you have to get? You had to call your person and make sure that you can
Oh,
get
insurance.
insurance, right?
Yeah.
And then you also wanted to make sure that you got a copy of the seller's disclosure.
I didn't know that was a...
Well, you basically, I don't know how you did
Contingency.
it, but a lot of people waive that contingency when they write the offer because they've already received the
Yeah,
seller's
that's
disclosure.
exactly what happened because I've read the seller's disclosure at, like, when we looked at the house.
Okay, so it was still, it could have been a contingency, but
Yeah.
I guess you waived it or you already it passed it because you already
Right.
read it. Okay, so
Yeah.
appraisal, inspection, seller's disclosure, insurance, and financing. All right, this is kind of an awkward one, but I love talking about it because I like people to know.
Okay.
How did your realtor get paid?
They were paid by the sellers.
Did they ask you for money?
No.
There you go.
Nope.
Okay, so that's great. Anything else you want to add? Is there any hot tips that you want anyone else listening to know? Any feedback, any constructive criticism, anything before we jump
feel
into
like
my
I've
questions?
covered a lot. Like we've covered a lot.
It's pretty thorough.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm going to jump into my 5 questions. You did a great job.
Yay.
I appreciate you being here, by the way. Thank you very much.
Well, this was my idea, I think. Like back in our first meeting, I was like,
You're
we
like, I wanna
should
be on your podcast.
we should do this when I'm done.
Okay, so number 1, who lives under your roof?
My boyfriend Joey and my cat Morty.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
And where are you your best, Erica?
I'm my best when I'm not at work. When I'm with Joey and we're just like having an adventure.
Oh,
Honestly.
okay.
Like, because I can be as silly or myself as I want.
Okay, do you want to tell us about a recent adventure or are we good?
Oh, geez. We went to Castlewood State Park. We love going like for walks places. So
did you do the river scene trail or what?
We did. Yeah, we walked along the river, and then it takes you up like on one of the higher. Can you call it a cliff? I guess they're cliffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you bring Morty?
Cool thing. We're kind of weird cat parents because we wish that we could bring him everywhere like a dog, but it's just not possible for him to go on hikes with us and stuff. But we do bring him like to my parents all the time, and like when we go to other people, like if we house sit and stuff, we'll bring him with us. Like,
okay,
I would never leave him. Like, people leave their cats for a weekend. I could never do that.
All right. Enough about the cats.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So tell me, what's your favorite blog or podcast?
I should have been prepared for this,
you knew this
because
was
I
coming.
know. Well, I didn't know you would ask me the normal questions.
Oh, okay.
Probably Comedy Bang Bang is my favorite podcast, although I haven't listened to it as much lately. It's just a comedy podcast where people come on as characters.
Oh, that might qualify, but this is up to you. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure is HGTV.
And do you have a favorite show?
I can watch HGTV forever and ever, and it's really sad. Well, I would say probably Fixer Upper is my favorite, but there's this new show that I just watched. There's only 3 episodes out so far, but it's called Good Bones, and it's a mother-daughter rehab team, and they're in Indianapolis, and I love it. Like, I'm instantly addicted to it. And I'm really close with my mom, so I love that they have, like, this close relationship together, and I wish that my mom was into that stuff. Maybe she would be. I don't know.
Well, you'll have to send her a link to this podcast, and then she'll be instantly interested.
I will.
Tell me, who is your mentor, and how have you thanked them?
If you had asked me in college, or like just out of college, when I was like considered myself a writer and stuff. I mean, I have a blog, but I haven't really done much with it lately.
Okay.
I would have said my professor, Dr. Bear, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. This is kind of sad.
Have you thanked him?
No, I should.
Yeah,
I
maybe
should
that's
say
a
thank you.
little hint there.
He's awesome.
All right. Any final comments, questions? I mean, I guess you don't really...
This was so much fun. I don't know. Like, I mean, I wasn't really nervous for it. It was easy.
Good. We thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And we thank Joey as well. And I guess we're going to wrap up the show. So look forward, everyone, to future episodes where we're going to try to continue to dive deep into specific topics. If you have a topic that you want us to talk about, please send us an email, podcast@hermanlondon.com. And take care.